No, Pika. That's a terrible idea. I mean, goober tubers? You want me to live stream nothing but picking noses? I mean, you got the idea from the pimple popping stations that you get in your suggestions. When did you get a YouTube channel? Are you my competitor? Is he making other content while I'm not looking? I'm just kidding. That's just a stuffed animal. He doesn't do anything. But make show notes. And thank you so very much for returning, coming back. And if you're here for the first time, welcome. It is time for the golden age of DC Comics. 365 days where I take this beloved hardcover coffee table book given to me about 2 decades ago by one of my best friends. This has been surfing my coffee table ever since, giving us constant comic book shop style conversations. The kind we wish to recreate together right here, right now. Thank you so much for tuning in. We are using this book for its intended purpose. It is a 365 days book. That means we're going to open up to today's date, which is December the 28th. We are going to look at some comic book art of an antediluvian age. We're going to read the blurb, and then we're going to talk about comic books. And we're going to talk about comic books every day for the rest of the year. This year is winding down. It's true. And there's only a couple of more days left of this particular show. But we're going to keep going on next year with a new show. We're changing hats, one could say. Yeah. I'm going to be changing hats and doing a new show starting next year. Yeah, starting the first of the year. We're going to change the format of the show. It's going to be about boxing, bagging, and boarding, reboxing, reboarding, and rebagging my entire collection. And while I'm at it, I'm going to learn how to value the comics as well, and maybe even sell bunches of them, because when was the last time I even handled those funny books? They're just sitting in a box. I mean, have they gained value? Let's find out. We're going to find out together. So we're using these Overstreet books, the most current price guide, and how to grade comics using their 10-point grading system. I am not a professional grader. I'm doing this for entertainment purposes and to talk about, give us an excuse to talk about comic books just for a few moments in our day. Some real escapism. We're just going to take our minds off of stuff and get to it. I hope you are clobbering your problems and not being clobbered by them. And I have to say, I love seeing the comments, so keep the comments coming, please. I love being able to catch the live chat upon premiere, if I'm lucky enough to do that. So if I am, and I see the familiar faces, and we see new names out there too, and that's awesome. Everyone's welcome here. I hope you're having a good time talking about comic books, because they're supposed to be fun, darn it. Come on. It is December the 28th. This is story by Otto Binder, pencils by Kurt Swan, inks by Ray Burnley, from Superman's pal Jimmy Olsen, issue number 4, March, April of 1955. Near the end of the golden age of DC Comics. The golden age of DC Comics runs between 1938 and 1955. The Silver Age will begin in 1956, specifically with showcase number 4 and the debut of Barry Allen, The Flash. There's also a little thing called the Comics Code Authority Seal of Approval mixed in there too, being a really harsh dividing line between golden and silver ages. This is the knowledge we accumulate along the way. Bow to His Majesty. But Jimmy, sire, this takes my breath away. Even your super breath, I'll bet. But gosh, Superman, I'm as surprised as you are. That's, I guess, my Jimmy Olsen voice. Because here we have Jimmy Olsen as King. And wherever they are in these amazing adventures. Um, yeah, I mean, are we able to discern like what age and what culture and area? Is this like supposed to be like Spanish conquistador look? I mean, or did the British look this way around the time of when they took they took the king's head off? Was it Oliver Cromwell? Those look like Cromwellian. I mean, you tell me, and let's read the blurb. Maybe we'll find out. In the constant search for story material, even more desperate in the days when a comic book contained several separate narratives, borrowing was commonplace. This script about someone who looked exactly like a king was recycled from the Superman TV show, the episode King for a Day, by editor Mort Weisinger, but had its origins in an old chestnut of a novel by Anthony Hope, The Prisoner of Zenda from 1894, that was filmed in 1913, 1922, 1937, 1952, and 1979. Golly, I mean, we think we have a problem with reboots, retreads, and mental casting calls. And has been appropriated all around, most notably for certain generations on the television series Get Smart. Okay, The Prisoner of Zenda has been appropriated all around, most notably for a certain generation on the television series Get Smart, which might be going over the heads of our younger viewers. There used to be a sitcom in the 1960s that was lampooning the James Bond movies and the very popular TV show Secret Agent, or also known as Danger Man in the UK, starring Patrick McGoohan. That debuted in 1961, a few years before the first James Bond movie, by the way. Now, Bond was, he was in the Ian Fleming novels, of course, but the phrase John Drake, comes from Patrick McGoohan himself and may have been appropriated by the Bond people. Maybe not. I don't know. Do we got any true blue Bond fans out there? Did Ian McKellen... were the Ian Fleming's books like that? You tell me. I've never read a James Bond novel. Maybe I should. But yeah, bow to His Majesty. I love these old outrageous Superman stories. And sometimes with these Superman stories, Superman's huge. Like, that's our brand here. That's the super mantra. That's a stylized om, the holy syllable. I drew that. I meant it to look that way, a little childish, perhaps even drawn in crayon. I did it with colored pencils on in an art book I have. Yet the iconic colors and the configuration of that diamond logo, that goes a very long way. That's truly iconic. And I drew this years ago. And I stuck with that. I love that. The super mantra. Indeed. That's the super mantra. Om. Namaste. Oh, boy. Okay, but the more outrageous these Superman stories got, do you recall, is it still used to this day? Let me know in the comments section. What's your experience with Superman's wink? When Superman would break the fourth wall. So let's talk a little bit about Superman's wink and what is this breaking the fourth wall all about? You guessed it. We're going to be looking at some wikis. That's right. From the fourth wall. The fourth wall is a performance convention in which an invisible imaginary wall, this one right there, separates the actors from the audience. And while the audience can see through this wall, the convention assumes the actors act if they cannot. And breaking the fourth wall is violating this performance convention, which has been adopted more generally in the drama. This can be done by directly referring to the audience as the play as a play of the character, the play as a play, or the fictioner's or the character's fictionality. The temporary suspension of the convention this way draws attention to its use in the rest of the performance. Right, it's kind of addressing the actor or the subject in the panel. The same thing goes, for the stage, for the screen, and for the comic book panel. And they've been doing and using Peak as dedicated research. You better not have your own other station. I'm telling you, we're going to talk later. We need to talk. We are talking. This is our talk. Our need to talk has been sated right here with our comic book talk. And but Superman winking at the very end of a story, or Clark Kent winking right at the quote-unquote camera, right at you, making eye contact with you, looking right at the lens. You're directly making a connection with the viewer, whether it's on an art easel, whether it's on the stage, where someone just breaks character, looks right at you and says, like Richard III in the Shakespeare play. He would stop, drop, and address the audience, and you would hear his monologue. It would be that is soliloquy, what's on his mind, the narrative caption. You know what I mean? Just like a thought bubble, and so a soliloquy does not have to break the fourth wall, but in Richard III, it's used for effect. So it is used literally for effect. So you have Richard III addressing the audience as his own chorus, being like, I am such a devious SOB, aren't I? As he twirls his mustache, because he's a villain. He's like a Palpatine. He's Richard III, is like, you will suffer for your lack of vision. You need a dusting, too. But Superman's wink, Superman breaking the fourth wall with that, I don't know, Jimmy, what do you think? Sure, Lois, sure. And apparently it originated in the cartoons, the 1940s famous Al Fleischer cartoons. And so these Superman stories had the ability to, because it was a vision, you couldn't do that on the radio. That would be lost on the viewer, or unless it was some kind of verbal cue. But it seems that that after Fleischer started using it in the 1940s cartoons, it became a staple of the character. No other superhero character really does that, do they? Batman doesn't wink at the camera. Aquaman, we know they could. They all can. They probably have. But who's known for it? Who's known to literally have a panel of the wink and more than Superman, in my humble opinion? I mean, what do you think? Let me know in the comments. But yeah, the fourth wall, and lots of and comics is a great place to break fourth wall. Let's see, on television. Remember, this is the wiki in in video games and literature. Would this be literature? They're talking about Little Nemo and how Little Nemo in Slumberland would break the fourth wall, and that was one of the most original comic strips there is. Indeed. And yeah, Little Nemo is a fictional character by Winsor McCay, and his launch date was in 1805. So there have been that wall breaking in comics has been going on the entire time, predating the golden age of DC Comics. One of my favorite wall breakings and wall breakers. Let's put it that way. I guess it's how you use it and who uses it. And one of them is Grant Morrison, and he does that. He's done that a few times in DC Comics, and one of them was a limited series he did in the early 21st century called Multiversity, and Ultra, the hero of Earth Prime. There was a haunted comic book that only gives its power when you look at it. I mean, he said this before in a Vertigo title called The Filth. This title uses the active ingredient metaphor, and I always thought that was brilliant. And so that he's carried that on his entire career, especially the Filth as well. A DC Vertigo, late 90s. Let's just double check that. The Filth. Morrison. Yes. Oh, yeah. Early 21st century. It was a Vertigo imprint, and it ran between August of 2002 to October of 2003, and it was just one of these meta commentaries on huge story, this insular universe. But whoa, what's above us? Above us is the reader, the writer, on this Earth Prime, the veneer that separates this membrane that separates our realities is only that molecule thick of that dimensionality of this 2D representation of the 3D in our 4D life out here. Well, there is a third dimension, of course, the thickness of the paper and the thickness of the ink on the paper itself. So it's not completely a 2D image. I get that. All right. If we're splitting hairs, you've come to the place to do that, I guess. the coffee table. Hey, how do you like my new hat? I'm going to be wearing it all year next year. It's my new hat for the show. My new show hat. I'm retiring this old look. And it's been fun and nice and consistent to be in the same clothes every day all year. But I'm going to change it up just a little bit. This is quite literally my high school sweatshirt. My mom gave it to me. It's a little snug on me, but after I lost all that weight in lockdown 2020, I could wear it again. I could fit in it. I'm a little snug on me now because I'm a little heftier than I was in 2021. I think I put on close to 30 pounds of those of the almost 60 I lost. So January for me is going to be about getting back on my diet and losing a few pounds and lifestyle choices. And one of my happiest lifestyle choices has been going back to my local comic book shop. If you found this the show through Wes's Thinking Critical, Comics Aficionados, God bless you. Namaste. Like and subscribe is and please, you're welcome to stay. I like to talk about how those guys and gals have given me a new lens going forward on how to buy the comic books I want to buy and not waste my space, my precious living space and my precious money and my collection space on comic books that won't satisfy me. And so it's given me a better vision, and it's given me a third renaissance with comic books. I've taken time off of comics before, and I have just come back again. And there are things I will buy, and there are things I won't buy. Specifically, there are a lot of people I won't buy from, and but there are plenty of things to talk about, and there are plenty of good things out there to keep reaching for. And so a lot of next year's show is going to be using supplies that I get from my local comic book shop that's in my village square. I'm going there today, and I'm going to use my Christmas loot and get some supplies. Some boxes, some acid-free boards, and some bags. And I'm going to get the best of the best. I'm actually going to switch to the short boxes, not the long boxes. Why? Because, Short boxes are a lot lighter, probably half as light as a long box. Those long boxes get pretty darn hefty and heavy. I mean, I'm not looking forward to, bringing up, it's going to be a one long box coming up, at a time, because those things, they're in my basement, and they need some love. So that's going to be next year's show. This is the hat I'm dressing for it. Yeah, maybe one of many hats, but I would like to pimp my local comic book shop, and you should too. I could be buying these supplies from Amazon. Listen, I'm a city boy all my life. I've never owned a car. I don't have a car now. I don't need one. I can get anywhere I need to in an hour between public transportation and Ubers or taxi cabs. So my village square is a mile and a half walk. I have a cinema, a supermarket, a pharmacy, pubs, restaurants, and a great local comic book shop. So it's my pleasure to spend my money there, because they got my local comic book shop made it through lockdown. Now it's ours to keep. Okay, I hope you know that. Please support your local comic book shops. Keep that conversation going while you're there. Just buy something you never would before. If I see something that, I'm not buying Marvel comics right now for many reasons. I have room to buy something else that I would never have thought of. Buy a secondary brand. Maybe buy someone like an Aftershock or Boom or IDW or Dark Horse or Image, or some small press, and give a new story and new characters and new creators a chance. I mean, and these titles are abundant at your local comic book shop. The covers are designed to get your interest, and it's, check them out. That's what that the newsstand is there for. And fall in love with this weekly publication, the floppy, and bring it into your life. And that's all I got to say about comic books today. We've been talking about comic books, and we're going to talk about comic books every day for the rest of the year. So tune in tomorrow, 3 p.m. U.S. Eastern, and we'll find out who we're talking about when we turn the page tomorrow. Please like and subscribe. I would love to earn your subscription. We make daily content here. We talk about comic books every day. I also make regular content, usually during the work week. I'm on a break right now, so I got less content. But I still have time for my 3 p.m. daily comic book conversation with our coffee table here. Pull up a chair. Bring a cup of whatever. Let me know in the comment section what you're putting under your nose. There's plenty of room at this coffee table for everyone. Cheers. God bless. Namaste. Good luck. And we will see you again tomorrow in those funny pages. Let me know if you like the hat. All right. Bye-bye.